Woo! Buenos dias, Jason Paniagua. Welcome in, sir. Woo! Gonna mute for a moment for the Facebook overlords. Steve DeRocco, good morning. The original Rock, welcome in. Tracy Bogert, happy election results. I hope everything went your way.
Now, Chris Duel.
Good Wednesday morning, March 2nd, the first day after the election. I hope you voted yesterday. You'll get another opportunity. It was essentially primaries, but a big deal. Election day yesterday locally and across the state of Texas. Welcome in. It is the Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney, Jeremy KOLOK in his Nike Just Do It hoodie. Is your Soundscape stylist, the hardest working man in radio. So much going on, including the prophecy yesterday as we talked baseball with Scott Manziera. He said the deal will get done. Well, not only did the deal not get done, but Major League Baseball cancels opening day, including the first two series of the season. And who knows, maybe many more to come. They're certainly, both sides are certainly playing hardball. Shannon, Salty, Sweeney in your burnt orange Texas Longhorns warm-up jacket. What is happening this morning?
Well, it's Texas Independence Day, so it only feels right to be as Texas as possible. For me, that's wearing all of the burnt orange. I'm doing all right this morning, Chris. I was expecting, Scott yesterday when he said deal would get done. I believed in him. I really did.
Yeah.
And, I'm going to go ahead and take us to our poll question here because it is about the MLB and that decision that ultimately did not take place yesterday, asking how upset are you that the MLB has canceled opening day in the first two series of the season? I personally, I'm saying I'm mildly upset. I'm not the biggest baseball fan in the world, but as having this job and having my afternoons free, it really does fill my time and is an enjoyable experience to have a game on in the background, something to watch. And as an Astros fan, I want to keep that momentum going of them being as good as they are. And I want to see what's going to happen with Carlos Correa. I'm tired for waiting. So for me, I'm mildly upset. It seems most of the votes are going that way right now, but head over to Ticket 760 and AM13 on the Zone Twitter pages to check that one out and give us your vote.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm mildly upset. I'm not a huge hardcore baseball fan, but I'm a baseball fan. It's part of the American sports landscape. I'm a huge Astros fan as we get, as you know, deeper into the season when the games matter a little more. I get more into it. So hopefully the fact now it's like, you bring guns to a gunfight. Apparently shots have now been fired. They've canceled opening day and they've canceled the first two series. So both sides playing hardball now, and that means money lost. So hopefully that's going to motivate the players' side and the owners' side to get going. We'll talk a lot about that. Bill Schoening, the voice of the San Antonio Spurs, going to join us at 8:05. Shannon's Salty Shakedown, high five play of the day, sports history, sports birthdays, your phone calls along the Heart Radio app, and you and I were holding this in our hands. And you and I, Shannon, we do a lot of the talking on this show because we're the talk show hosts, but a bigger, easier chance now for the listeners to talk back to us through the iHeartRadio app. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's a really cool function, actually, that I played around with a lot yesterday. So I actually have the page pulled up. So if you do end up testing it out this morning, I will be seeing your messages come in live. I see mine from yesterday. They're all pretty short and don't say a whole lot. But what you can do is open that iHeartRadio app, tune in to Ticket 760 or AM 1300 The Zone. You'll notice there is now a little microphone button. You'll press that. You have 30 seconds to record whatever your message is. Afterwards, you press send, and you'll get a little message that says your message, your voicemail has been sent to the station. And like I said, I've got the page pulled up, so I'll be getting those in real time this morning. And we'd love to share that audio over the air if it's good. I mean, make it appropriate. You know, don't be cursing. We still have to follow the FCC rules. But again, a great little feature available on the iHeartRadio app. I highly encourage everyone to go test it out, get a feel for it, and communicate with Chris and I. Just another great way to get involved with our listeners. I'm excited.
Yeah, so am I, and we're going to be incorporating that more. It's just another way. You know, some people go into work in the morning, don't want to make a phone call, but they want their voice heard, don't want to, you know, dial up a number or wait on hold or anything like that. Boom, this is instantaneous. You got something to say, pull out the free iHeartRadio app, boom, press the button, say it, send it, we got it, and we're going to incorporate it quite a bit. So go take a look at that, the all-free iHeartRadio app. And remember, if you listen to us over the airwaves as well, we're always crystal clear on the iHeartRadio app, and you can listen all over the world to us on the iHeartRadio app. Jason Paniagua, check that out, Shannon. Jason Paniagua saying, I tested it yesterday, and he sent one yesterday. So very, very cool. We like that. Excellent.
Yeah, I'll have
we'll
to
keep an eye on that.
I'll have to check it out during the break for you, Jason. But thank you.
Very cool. So yeah, send us in just anything, you know, you agree with us, you disagree with us, you got ideas, you got show ideas, something you want to talk about, something we should be talking about, jump in with that. So Shannon, we talked about it from the get-go. It is probably the biggest story in sports this morning. The fact that no deal, no compromise, no agreement between Major League Baseball and the players. So the announcement was made yesterday. Major League Baseball cancels opening day. There was an announcement by Commissioner Rob Manfred, and they will therefore also cancel the first two series that were supposed to begin on opening day. So they're now saying instead of a 162 game season, this might likely cut it down to 156 games at most. Now, in a weird way, Shannon, you know, I think 162 games is too much. I mean, I don't like the way it's being cut down, but who knows what's good or bad? If this motivates Major League Baseball to, you know, cut back its games a little bit, and I don't think it will because everybody wants their money, but I've long advocated cutting the season down a little bit from 162.
Yeah, it's when you put it in those terms, it doesn't feel like you know, oh no, we're without X amount of games of baseball. You're still going to have plenty. Of course, for the players, you know, they want to see those paychecks come in, and the owners, of course, want butts in seats and eyes on the televisions to continue making that money. Now, the interesting thing was yesterday, my biggest takeaway from Rob Manfred and, you know, the decision, he held a press conference and a picture I think at times can speak 1,000 words, whether it's the right words of what's actually happening of the situation or it just is the right still at the right time, is Rob Manfred laughing and smiling at the podium while he's saying, we're not going to start a season on time.
Yeah. And, you know, and again, Rob Manfred, kind of an older guy, and that's being generous. I could say old guy, and I'm an old guy, so I'm allowed to say that. I'm not being an ageist or discriminating. I'm old too. But the older you get, you maybe forget about the optics, and you maybe forget the way social media works, although he shouldn't, because it would be the same thing if it were 30 years ago and if it was a photographer for a newspaper. If you're going to do a press conference and get up there and deliver bad news, you don't smile at any time during the press conference, lest someone might get a photo of you, and that's the photo they're going to run with. So while, you know, on the surface, I'm saying, you know, maybe he's just not savvy enough to know how technology and social media works. But the reality is we had photographs 100 years ago, and you should have known this at any time in your life, certainly when you reach the level of commissioner of Major League Baseball. So totally agree with you. Dude, if you're delivering bad news, and for your fans, you're delivering the worst news, you're taking baseball away. at least for opening day and for the opening series. And who knows, this may be the beginning of a long, protracted work stoppage in Major League Baseball. We've had the lockout, which is technically a work stoppage. We've not had spring training, but now that they're taking games away, this is serious stuff. And Shannon, of course, no laughing matter.
No, and a lot of the players were quick to voice their concerns, one of which being Lance McCullers of the Houston Astros saying, this is a joke. This is our game. We play the game. We love the game. We are fans of the game. We are asking for nothing but a small bit of fairness, largely for young players and players to come behind us. All we care about is baseball. So clearly the players just want to get something done, but they want it to be fair, as McCullers said, and they feel like they're not getting that love from Manfred and the owners. So they're no, I don't think either side is happy right now, but I think the players are certainly a little bit more in the right yesterday, as they were the ones to actually reject, the final offer from the owners.
Let's check in with Jeremy KOLOK, our Soundscape stylist. Jeremy, you weren't with us last baseball season. We've talked a lot of football with you. We've talked basketball with you. We've talked about the first ever Sonic not far from Oklahoma State University in Stillwater, but we haven't talked baseball. Are you a baseball guy?
Yeah, no, I'm kind of like you. Like, I'm a baseball fan, but I'm not like the hardcore, like watching in 162 games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm a fair weather Rangers fan, like a t-shirt Rangers fan. And after the past few seasons, or just basically, recent history, it's been very painful as a Rangers fan.
Yes.
So then this past off season, obviously they kind of start spending a little bit of money uncharacteristically. And then now we have the lockout, the work stoppage. So I'm disappointed from that standpoint. It's like, okay, the Rangers finally have a little bit of light here, some hope that the team actually wants to win. Of course, speaking of management, not the players. And now there's no baseball. And I was watching that press conference live yesterday, Rob Manfred, because when I saw that he was about to speak, I was like, oh, this should be rich. You know what I mean? And so he steps up there, and I guess I was doing something on a laptop, and the first thing I looked up, he was laughing. And I was like, I cannot be the only person that notices this. So I'm glad y'all have discussed it this morning, because I hadn't heard anything else about it, but I noticed it immediately. I was like, dude, like, that is public relations 101.
Yeah.
Like, you're out here delivering the worst of news regarding, pertaining to your game and to your fans, as you said, and to the players, and basically to everybody who likes baseball.
Right.
And it seems like, does Rob Manfred even like baseball?
Ooh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just the vibes I get from him, that this isn't a big deal to him, that he's like, no, this is just part of business, man. But it seems like he's not even a baseball fan.
I got to ask you, though, now you mentioned you're a Rangers fan. You didn't mention the Houston Astros. Most of us are Astros fans in Austin and San Antonio. I like them both. I'm happy when both of them are winning. When they did go to the series many years ago, I was pulling for the Rangers. Why Rangers and not Astros?
I don't want to be disrespectful to the Astros, because I don't have.
You could be disrespectful.
It feels like the Rangers are Texas's team. It feels like that's how it's always felt.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Nate, you could argue with me on that. I don't have any problem hearing the Astros side, but I've never had any problem with I'm not gonna say like the Astros are like the Texans to the Cowboys. I don't think it's like that. You know what I mean? I don't think the Rangers are the Cowboys. Like, this is America's team. I just think, which team has Texas across their chest on their jerseys?
All right,
the two teams.
You win that
that's
single
all it
argumentative point.
They're
it does
both
say
in
Texas on their jersey. Shannon, you down with Jeremy saying that the Rangers are the official team of Texas and the Astros are kind of the the little brother, little sister?
I didn't say that.
You don't like me putting words in your mouth.
Maybe in like the history of baseball, but lately it feels like it's the Astros state. But like you, I like both teams. Obviously here in Austin and with the Round Rock Express. You know, they were previously with the Astros, and prior to that, they were with the Texas Rangers. Now they're back with the Texas Rangers organization. So, you know, I'm familiar with both and happy to see both succeed. But Astros first for me.
Well, and just what Jeremy just said, Shannon, just confirms what you brought up about Manfred smiling and laughing. You know, not only social media picking up on it, but there's Jeremy watching the press conference in real time. And that's the first thing that struck him. I got to believe, you know, thousands and thousands of baseball fans and even non-baseball fans across the country must have picked up on that and must have felt that way. And Jeremy, you crystallized it. Public relations 101. I mean, you do not smile or laugh when you're delivering bad news.
No, you wouldn't. It seems like you wouldn't see Adam Silver doing that, or you wouldn't see David Stern back in the day doing that. And even as much as Roger Goodell seems out of touch, and as many times as he fumbles, it seems like even he knows not to do that because that's their job. It's public relations. That's like what they're supposed to know.
Yeah. You know, I always talk about how like my calendar year starts with football season, right? It's not when the physical date changes on the 31st to the 1st. It's football season. And so to me, it's like you have Roger Goodell goes first and then Adam Silver starts coming in and they phase each other out. So I feel like Rob Manfred has all this time to be like, okay, what are we doing this year, you guys? And then he comes in and it's like he was the kid in the back not paying attention and the teacher passes out the test and he was like, oh crap.
We got lots to talk about, not just the impasse and the cancellation, plural cancellations in Major League Baseball, but all things NFL. Some interesting comments from Bruce Arians, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers head coach, that may not make Tom Brady happy. We'll get into that. All things NFL. We'll even talk Cowboys, as God intended, because we should. USFL, NBA, college sports, and more. Speaking of the NBA, Bill Schoening, the voice of the San Antonio Spurs, going to join us just after 8 o'clock. Always entertaining. Bill was doing a baseball game yesterday. When I texted him just to confirm he was on the show this morning, he's out there doing more play-by-play. You know, Carl Schoening, Bill Schoening, these guys live to do play-by-play. They are amazing. Little Elton John as we go to break. Thank you, Jeremy. Quick break. Lots more coming. The high five play of the day is seconds away. It's a little burnt orange related. You're going to want to hear this. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. He's Jeremy KOLOK. I'm Chris with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Woo! Good morning, Beth Settle. Hello, Beth. You're up early at 6:27. Everybody's up early at 6:27. I see Jason Paniagua, Steve Duraco, Tracy Bogert, Amber, a.k.a. Foamfoot 420, saying congratulations to Joe Reinagel for 25 years on Ken's 5. I think his final sportscast was it yesterday or the night before? Might have been, I don't know. It was Monday night or Tuesday night. Sadly, I missed it. But yeah, 25 years in that chair, and it was the chair before him occupied by Dan Cook. That's pretty impressive. So kudos to Joe Reinagel. Lucinda Sullivan with a coffee emoji. I'm going to go get some coffee. Very, very cool. All right, now I got to do a quick commercial. Let me see what I'm supposed to say here. Where did I put that? I'm losing my mind. There it is. Okay, what does he want me to do here? He wants... All right. I'm going to go off mic for a moment and record this spot. Jeremy, when you get a chance, send us that audio, and then I'll sometime during the show, I'm going to edit a version of it that goes for 60 seconds as well. So thanks. File new stereo. Whoops. Okay, I'm going to mute this for a sec. Be right back. All right. Got that done. Let's see here. Whoops. Okay. Wait. Whoa. Select. Edit. Copy. File. New. Good morning, Jesse Bratton. Welcome in. Let's see. I need to edit this. Okay, I got that. So now I do this. Okay, what did he call it on this? Okay. There's one. That's not good. Jesse, we talked about that. Baseball is not back. In fact, they canceled opening day and they've canceled some other the first two series. All right, I'm going to have to do that during a break because this is not cooperating. Okay. Welcome back. The Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney on a Wednesday, which is Texas Independence Day. It is also Ash Wednesday, which is interesting. Having all kinds of computer fun here with my computer, Shannon, but I think I just did it. It's I was trying to mute one of the microphones, which makes the sound a little bit better on the video. As we stream live video. If you're new to the show, you can join us there at AM 1300 The Zone and Ticket 760's Facebook pages, Twitter pages. You can get there through YouTube as well. It's a beautiful thing. Jeremy KOLOK making the show go. Coming up just after 8 o'clock this morning, we'll talk NBA, Spurs, and more with the voice of the San Antonio Spurs, Mr. Bill Schoening. Always enlightening, informative, entertaining. We'll talk with Bill. In fact, Bill has a huge milestone coming up that we will talk about with him, Shannon. Tomorrow night will be his 2000th consecutive broadcast for the San Antonio Spurs. He prides himself, Shannon, on never missing a game. And you just think about any of us. You know, those kids in school who never missed class once and they get an award at the end of the school year or at the end of their entire education. I mean, people get sick, and NBA season, a lot of that takes place during the cold and flu season. And Bill Schoening is an Iron Man, 2,000 consecutive broadcasts tomorrow night when the Spurs take on the Sacramento Kings.
Well, and, you know, you throw in the COVID on top of that, and you know, it's not surprising. I mean, he does have a book coming out. I'm sure some stories of those 2,000 games that he's done thus far are going to be part of that. I need to ask him. I've asked him a little bit about the book already that comes out March 21st, Stories, Sports, and Songs by Mr. Bill Schoening. But I need to know if he's going on an official book tour. I mean, when is the Oprah sit-down interview? When is the Good Morning America live on GMA appearance going to be? Because that mustache needs to be in prime time.
I totally agree. You've got to ask those questions of Bill Schoening just after 8 o'clock. And I have, Shannon, there's been a few games, very few, but I mean, you could just tell sometimes, and I lose my voice, you know, every couple of years for a few days. It just happens. It's laryngitis. It happens. But man, Bill soldiers on. He you know, he won't let that microphone out of his hand. He's amazing and so darn good. So talented at what he does as a play-by-play guy. So Bill Schoening coming up, and maybe some more details about his book, as Shannon mentions, coming up just after 8 o'clock. Shannon's Salty Shakedown just after 7:30, along with sports history and sports birthdays. But right now, we like doing this because we should do this because people in the world of sports and occasionally outside the world of sports deserve a high five from us. So that's what we do. We call it the High Five Play of the Day, appropriately sponsored by High Five, 2 locations in the Austin area. Shannon, of the 3 of us, you have the most experience wielding axes at High Five. Tell the people what they'll find at High Five.
Well, on a Wednesday, you'll find all-day happy hour. So a wonderful day to get over to High Five, to check out the axe throwing, to check out bowling, laser tag, any of the activities that are far and wide over there. My favorite, zombie dodgeball, and to enjoy some happy hour eats and drinks over there as well. And Chris, today you teased it. We've got a very burnt orange High Five. This one is going out to the Texas women's basketball team and Coach Vic Schaefer. They have had a great season. And yesterday, we got a message from Vic Schaefer. The women will close out the Irwin Center to close out their season as well this Saturday against Oklahoma State. And Vic Schaefer wanted to share this message.
Yeah, Senior Day is always special. And I think it's appropriate that we send these seniors out in our last regular season game of this season, as well as the last regular season game of the Irwin Center. In style. I'm encouraging everyone. I'm encouraging our administration, our Longhorn family to come out and let's pack the Irwin Center. I think you saw on Saturday night what it looks like with our team, how fun it is, how exciting it is, how our team plays when they've got that home court advantage. And I thought the Roos were going to blow off the Irwin Center in that second quarter when we had that 19-2 run. And there's 8 or 9 schools across the country that have had 10,000 fans, and I want Texas to be in that number. We had a great crowd Saturday night, but I need twice that many on this coming Saturday against Oklahoma State for Senior Day. Again, I think our kids warrant it. It's a great group of seniors. It's a great team, and this will be a great way to send the Irwin Center out in style.
We give a lot of love to Coach Chris Beard for how he's interacting with the students and trying to get those fans in the stands for those home games. And Vic Schaefer putting his money where his mouth is, Chris, because he wants 10,000 fans in the stands, as he said. But what he didn't mention in that video is that if Texas gets 10,000 fans on Saturday for this game, 1 o'clock tip, he himself will donate $10,000 to the Neighborhood Longhorns program. And if you needed any more incentive to get out to the final Texas women's game of the year, the final basketball game ever in the Frank Irwin Center before they make the move over to Moody, there's a lot going on here. It's dollar deals day during this game on Saturday, which means $1 tickets to get into the arena, to have a seat for the game, $1 hot dogs, $1 popcorn, $1 sodas, and $1 bottle of water. If you say, hey, Shannon, I'm an adult, I want an adult beverage. Well, guess what? They've got happy hour all game long. So you got $5 domestic beers and $6 imports. And it's not like the Texas football games where there's happy hour before the games. All game long. Get those beers all game long, and then get plenty of those $1 hot dogs to make sure you've got something in your system. We're also going to have free stuff. 1,000 fans will get a game t-shirt, free commemorative Senior Day posters. First 500 students will also be getting free Whataburger, honey butter chicken biscuits. I mean, that right there should be enough to get you to head in. They're going to be celebrating a day of champions. They're going to be honoring 75 Longhorn champions and Olympians that have competed across the sports over the years in honor of Women's History Month. It's going to be a really big day. And of course, as Vic Schaefer mentioned, a Senior Day, so an even more special day for some of those players. Make sure if you can this weekend, Frank Irwin Center, 1 o'clock tip, be early, be loud, and stay late with the Lady Longhorns as they close out their season and do it in style.
Very cool. And kudos and a huge high five, as you mentioned, to head coach Vic Schaefer, wanting and imploring the fan base to get out there and put 10,000 fans into the Irwin Center. His pledge of donating that $10,000, if they can get 10,000 fans, that is huge. And just for, Longhorn fans and sports fans, if you're in the Austin area, that's history, man. Final game in the Irwin Center. Get out there on Saturday if you can. Now, Jeremy KOLOK, I just took note that the opponent will be your beloved Oklahoma State. Are you you want to hop in? You could be like one of 9 people there to support Oklahoma State at the Irwin Center. It could be a special moment for you.
Maybe I will. I actually just went to Austin a few days ago to attend the Austin FC game, the season opener, I believe.
You didn't tell us that. I didn't
Well,
know that.
Come on,
It never
Jeremy.
came
We
up naturally.
got to get in on that.
Well,
That's newsworthy. Tell us about that experience.
well, it was a lot of fun. I wanted to give a shout out to Austin FC and Matthew McConaughey and
Woo!
everybody who has something to do with that, because I had fun and it was kind of last minute type of deal for me. So it wasn't something I was like looking forward to. Like, yeah, I can't wait for this soccer game. And then when I got there, it was a phenomenal atmosphere. I mean, just such a cool stadium, and they destroyed the opponent, Cincinnati
5-0.
FC. Yeah, 5-0.
Cincinnati that
Yeah,
went
and
down.
it was such a cool experience, and it's like it's so different than going to a football game or a basketball game. Obviously, it's such a different atmosphere, and there's different mannerisms and everything. But just the way that stadium's designed, and it is a soccer stadium. Obviously, it is not a multi-purpose stadium that has soccer in it, or a football stadium that we're playing soccer in. It's a stadium designed for soccer, and I think it really enhances the atmosphere for it.
Now, you said it was a last-minute decision, and as Shannon, as you've discussed with us, last year, kind of hard to get tickets a lot of times for Austin FC. How did you go about getting tickets? Was it easy? What was the size of the crowd in there? What was that like?
It was full. It was packed to the brim. So I have a buddy, a really good friend from college, who is the creative director for Cincinnati FC, who is their
Really?
opponent.
Wow.
So he was like, "Hey man, I'm in Texas. I'm in Austin. I can probably get you a ticket to this game if you would like to come." And I was here Saturday morning running the lawn and garden show. So I was like, I don't know, man, it's going to be kind of a long day. And then once, I kind of got off and chilled out a little bit, I was like, you know what? This is like kind of an opportunity I don't want to miss, because like you mentioned, I know it's hard to get tickets, not just because, I mean, they're the new cool thing in town up there in Austin. I understand. But also, like I said, it's a soccer specific stadium. So it's a little bit smaller than if you were going to see Texas football play or whatever. And it was such a cool atmosphere. Like I said, shout out to Austin FC. And at first, I don't want to get into that whole thing with the Spurs and the MLS coming to San Antonio. So I was a little weirded out with Austin FC at first, but I'm all in now, man. That's my MLS team.
Well,
It was so fun.
You make a huge point. You can still be a San Antonio FC fan if you're in San Antonio,
Absolutely.
and you can still be an Austin FC fan. And good things will come eventually to San Antonio soccer. And I know San Antonio FC fans are saying good things are already here because that's a great team. Now I got to ask you: have you been to Toyota Field to see San Antonio FC? And if so, compare that experience in that stadium in San Antonio with Q2 Stadium in Austin in MLS, and sparkling new facility that is.
Yeah, Toyota Field is really nice too. I've been there. I went to a Scorpions game, and then I went to a game when they changed to SAFC as well. And it's a similar environment to what they have up there at Q2 Stadium in Austin, just a little bit smaller scale. It's basically just enhanced because you throw in the MLS logo, and then I mean, the success of the team, they won 5-0 like you said. It was a great environment.
Now, Shannon, you were in Vegas over the weekend. However, had you been in Austin this past weekend and Jeremy got this hookup for a seat at Q2 Stadium to see the opener with Matthew McConaughey on board in the stadium, would you have been upset with Jeremy that his first question for his friend from the Cincinnati FC soccer club wasn't, "Hey, can you get me two so I can bring Salty with me"?
When he first said he came to the game, for a minute I forgot I was in Vegas and was kind of insulted that I didn't get a text to say, "Hey, want to meet up for a drink at the Domain after the game or something." And then, you make a great point, because even though we are, the iHeart family is the official radio broadcast network for Austin FC, it's still hard for me to get tickets. I'm been asking people via email. I've got one game picked out so far this season. I'm like, please, can I have the tickets to this game? And they're like, you need to ask this person. You need to ask this person. You need to ask this person. Well, the person you're supposed to ask isn't responding. So I'm just like in the weeds here. So I would have enjoyed the opportunity. But yes, I was in Vegas. So I'll give you a pass on this one, Jeremy.
I appreciate
But welcome
that.
to the Verde and
And
Black.
I hope, and I yes.
Thank you.
Well, and I hope, again, and I see people, in here a lot talking about San Antonio FC, the people who support that club support both. It's Texas, and it's two different leagues. And I know San Antonio fans are butthurt that we didn't get MLS, but, support San Antonio FC and make them have to eventually award a franchise down here. Plus, that would be so much fun to have MLS in Austin, Dallas, Houston, and San Antonio. It kind of works out for San Antonio in the NBA. So very, very cool. So Shannon, do you think they'll get 10,000 fans? That's a tall order for Saturday, but it is the finale at the Irwin Center. So, that adds a whole lot of sizzle to that affair.
Well, and I read you the list of all the goings on for that game of incentives as to why, on top of the fact that it's a top 10 team in the country playing their final home game as they make their way towards the March Madness tournament. But on top of it, they've got a lot of support from other athletes from across the 40 acres. The football team, including Quinn Ewers, was at the last home game. I wouldn't be surprised if they come back, maybe even some former football players as well, because they're really doing all they can to encourage everyone to come out, and everyone meaning anyone who's a fan of Texas or has any association with Texas whatsoever to come back.
They need McConaughey.
Where's the MOC? I mean, gosh.
Yeah. Get on his Twitter and say he's going, and I'll see you there Saturday, 1:00, Irwin Center. Let's ring it out with a bang. That would go a long way. Come on,
yeah.
Matthew.
You should do that for sure.
You know you listen every morning. Come on, man. All right. Lots to talk about. Let's get into some NFL action, including some comments by Bruce Arians that won't make Tom Brady happy, we don't think. Also, some Cowboys news. We got to talk Cowboys because, they're America's team. They're the greatest team on the face of the earth. If they would just win some playoff games, that would really make us happy. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. He is Jeremy KOLOK on this Texas Independence Day and Ash Wednesday. Lots going on. Bill Schoening at 8:00. You are listening to the Chris Duel Show. I am having audio problems, and I got to edit something, and it's not. I'm going to try it one more time here. And if not, I got to go down the hall to another editing studio. Try this one more darn time. Come on, man. Ooh, it worked that time. And then it stopped. I would love it if this would just cooperate with me. All right, one more.
When you woke up this morning, before you knocked over your water, feeling around for your glasses, or stumbled to the bathroom to put in your contacts, stepping on every small toy along the way, what did you see? A world that was dull and fuzzy? Instead, what if when you woke up, you saw a world that was bright and clear? It's a possibility. With LASIK and LASIK Plus, we've performed over 2 million LASIK procedures nationwide. That's a lot of happy patients, thanks to the expert medical teams at LASIK Plus. LASIK only takes minutes, with most patients back to normal activities the next day. So visit mylasicoffer.com and get $1,000 off our wave-light laser when treated in March. That's $500 off.
Now, let's do this. Well, I'm going to do that in a second. I need coffee badly. Luckily, the editing is clunky here, but it worked for me. So that's helpful. Paul Lamb from Nashville. Welcome in, Paul. That's so cool. Thanks for joining us from Nashville. And our good friend Taro Kotani from Tokyo is flying in today. I saw he posted a photo. showing that he's flying in. Okay. I haven't had coffee yet at work. I've guzzled some at home. All right, I'm going to go nuke my coffee, and then it'll be a beautiful thing. I'll give you some Jeremy KOLOK for your viewing pleasure. Paul, we'll give you a shout out on the radio, man. I appreciate you joining us from Nashville.
Hey, this is Jake from State Farm. Since I'm all about being a good neighbor, I wanted to let you know that some other car insurance companies are increasing their rates in your state. So it's a good time to check your latest bill. But don't worry, if your bill's gone up and your budget's busted, switch to State Farm for surprisingly great rates. Problem solved. For surprisingly great rates, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or visit statefarm.com for a quote today.
Woo! All right. Now I need to there's that. 2 minutes. Desktop. just dropped via the free iHeartRadio app, and you and I were holding. Now, Shannon, something very, very cool has just dropped via the free iHeartRadio app. Thank goodness for coffee. I got the coffee going on. Okay. Wow. I'm looking at that Nashville Stadium. Very nice for Nashville SC Soccer Club instead of football club, which is the way it should be. I like that. Don't be calling soccer football. Here we go. Wow, John, that's crazy. John, is he listening right now? We'll give him a shout out. Absolutely. Army First Lieutenant Zachary Shane Williams. It's after 10 o'clock where he is on the western coast of South Korea. Camp Humphreys is home to the Army's most active airfield in the Pacific and the center of the largest construction and transportation project in the U.S. Department of Defense history. Wow. That's crazy. John, you better not be making that up. I'm kidding. That's so detailed. You couldn't have been making that up. Hector Gomez got his ashes for Ash Wednesday. Way to go, Hector. We might have to build a statue of you next to the Sonny Melendrez statue, next to the Jesus statue at the entrance to Central Catholic High School, since you did your duty as a good Catholic today. Way to go, man.
This is the...
I have to mute for a moment during the opening for our fans at Facebook, the evil overlords at Facebook.
Now, Chris Duel.
It is Wednesday. It is Ash Wednesday. A shout out to a regular listener and viewer on the live video feed, Hector Gomez, who said he got to the show late this morning because he went to church to get his ashes for Ash Wednesday. Very cool, Hector. Now, and that's probably okay. We'll accept that. God and church first. Chris and Shannon and Jeremy second. Okay, fair enough. We're no argument on that one. We're glad you made it to the show. Hector Gomez, a proud graduate of Central Catholic High School in San Antonio, Texas. In fact, Shannon, we got a few really cool messages on the live video feed during that commercial break at the top of the hour. We get the message from Hector Gomez joining us after church, getting his ashes on Ash Wednesday. Oh, by the way, if you're just tuning in, it's also Texas Independence Day, kind of a big deal. Paul Lamb is joining us from Nashville. And Nashville, they're building a soccer-specific stadium there for Nashville SC, which, Shannon, I prefer. This is America. I prefer that a soccer club calls itself SC for soccer club as opposed to football club, FC, because, Shannon, you and I know there's only one real football, and that's American football, not your little foreign football, your little soccer game. It's football. Don't be calling your sport football. You can have soccer. Shannon, am I out of line with that? I'm a little dogmatic on that.
No comment from the Austin FC fan this morning on that.
That's right. They're in a partnership with AM 1300 The Zone. Sorry, Austin. I like you though, Austin FC. I would like Austin SC, but that's just me. Then we get this message from John Williams, who is a regular listener / viewer from Dallas. So all right, you got Nashville is in the house this morning. Paul Lamb, thank you, Paul. We know from Facebook and social media that Taro Kotani is on an airplane right now over the Pacific Ocean, flying toward the United States of America, where he wants to see his San Antonio Spurs for the 17th trip from Tokyo, Japan. Taro usually joins us from Tokyo, which is cool, and we love it. And we love it. If you're joining us from Bernie, we love it as well. Leon Valley, Round Rock, we love it. Thanks for joining us. John Williams writes, my grandson, first lieutenant in the U.S. Army, Lieutenant Zachary Shane Williams, is listening right now from U.S. Army Camp Garrison Humphreys, where it's about 10:10 p.m. right now. It is located within the seaport city. I can't even pronounce it, but I'll try it. Pyeongtaek, along the western coast of South Korea, approximately 40 miles south of Seoul. Camp Humphreys is home to the Army's most active airfield in the Pacific and the center of the largest construction and transformation project in the U.S. Department of Defense's history. So a thank you and a shout out to United States Army First Lieutenant Zachary Shane Williams for listening to us from South Korea this morning. That is so cool. And whenever we do think about it, we also thank everyone who not only is serving our country, but everyone who has served. If you're serving now, if you're a veteran of the United States Armed Forces, we thank you for your service. That is so cool. Shannon, I mention this now and then. I'm so old. When I got into radio in San Antonio, God, I don't even remember, in the 90s, early 90s, it was, if somebody from New Braunfels called into the show, it's like, wow, man, they're listening to us in New Braunfels. How cool is it now? South Korea, Australia, Tokyo, Japan. It's pretty, not that we disregard, because we love our local listeners, but
yeah,
South Korea this morning and serving in the U.S. Army, that's way cool.
Well, and then you throw on top of that that new feature that we talked about earlier this morning, the talkback feature. For those that are listening from around the world via the iHeartRadio app, they can send us a message, and it's not going to cost you 10 cents or whatever a collect call, back in the day. Like if you're around the world, you can send us a message in 30 seconds with that new talkback feature, and then we get it instantly. It's not like it's going to take 2-3 hours to come through. I mean, we get it pretty instantly. So yeah, the technology is amazing, and I'm so glad we work at a company that is working to integrate it more and more, because it does allow us to connect more with our listeners.
And that iHeartRadio app is so cool. You can get any podcast on any platform. You get any radio station like us that you want, crystal clear, anywhere in the world, including South Korea. You get all the music you want. You can form your own playlists, your own radio stations. It adapts to what your preferences are, and it's very intuitive. So it blows me away. And the biggest thing that blows me away about the iHeartRadio app, Shannon, is how good AM radio sounds on the iHeartRadio app. Whenever I tune into this station, it sounds a certain way in the car, and it sounds fine, sounds good in the car. But I go home and I listen to the iHeartRadio app or on the go, and it's like, damn, that radio station sounds good. So we highly, it's free. It's the free iHeartRadio app. So go do that. Go to Ticket 760. And now and anytime you got a thought, you got a comment, Shannon or I or Jeremy says something that drives you crazy, you dispute that, or you're happy we said it, or an idea for the show. We're going to be doing more and more of that, and we'll probably just start asking you a question of the day to give you an option, because we want to hear from you. And that's the other thing, Shannon, morning talk radio, you don't get as many callers. I used to do the afternoon show. I used to do the show in the afternoon for years, and you get a lot more callers in the afternoon because their day is winding down. They're on their way home from work in the afternoon, so they pick up the phone and call. In the morning, everybody's like either getting ready for work, or they're in their car on the way to work, or they just arrived at work. And a lot of people don't want to dial up and wait for a moment for the phone to ring, wait for Jeremy to pick it up, and then maybe wait on hold. Although we go to your phone calls as quick as possible at 800-707-9760. But now with this new device, this talkback device on the iHeartRadio app, you don't got to wait. You have a comment, boom, you make the comment, we get it. It's a beautiful thing. As you mentioned, Shannon, technology, it just keeps getting better and better, and this is the latest from the iHeartRadio app.
I mean, you know what I love about us, Chris? Some people, they get in this position, they just get a big head. They don't want to talk to anybody. They don't want to be the direct you have your people call my people, not you and I, Chris. We got the phone number. We've got the live stream video. Yeah. We've got all of the social medias, the TikToks, the Instagrams, the Twitters, the Facebooks, and now we've got the talkback feature. Applause to you and I. Way. That's how fantastic we are.
Exactly. Applause to us for being so darn interactive. See, crowd goes very good, Jeremy. Yes. Right there with the canned applause. So cool. All right, let's dive into the National Football League, which we should. There continues, Shannon, to be speculation about Tom Brady. What's going on? Will he stay away? Is he retired for good? And I feel this way about him, Shannon, even if in his mind when he made that announcement, and even if today on March 2nd, in his mind, if he's going, yeah, I'm retired. Nope, not coming back. This has been his life, and he has been better at this than anybody else. When OTAs start rolling around, when he's watching the NFL draft, and the combine now, when he's watching, notoriously, Tom Brady looked like he had like a dad bod at the combine. One of the reasons people kind of mocked him, there's a photo from Tom Brady's combine with his shirt off, and he does not look that cut at all. He doesn't look like an NFL quarterback. He had the last laugh, obviously. He became the GOAT. I just have a feeling, even if in his own mind right now, Shannon, Tom Brady wake up one morning watching the combine or watching the NFL draft, or feeling his arm going, hey, man, it's April, it's May. I'm usually getting ready for the football season, and I'm starting to miss that. I think it's a fluid situation. I think it could change at any time with Tom Brady. And now, though, a lot of people are wondering, Tampa Bay's got to make a move. The combines are now, the draft is coming. They got to come up with a quarterback, and they've got to move on one way or another, because Tom Brady did announce his retirement. So Bruce Arians has been fielding some questions about how Tampa Bay would respond if Tom Brady wanted to go play somewhere else. What do we know about this?
Bruce Arians isn't here for it. If Tom Brady's going to be playing in the NFL, he wants him playing for the Buccaneers. I mean, Bruce Arians is, he understands what that team was before Tom Brady and what it was with Tom Brady and the likelihood of what it will be without a Tom Brady. If Tom Brady is in the league, they understand that just letting him go to another team like the 49ers would be bad for business. And that is exactly what Bruce Arians said. He said trading Tom Brady would be bad for business. So, the chance that Tom comes back, however slim that may be, it seems like it's an even slimmer chance that he would get to go to the 49ers if the Tampa Bay Bucks and Bruce Arians said, no. Why would we do that? We won a Super Bowl. Look how close we were last year.
See, but what I wonder, and obviously, and I get the position there by head coach Bruce Arians, but the owner, Edward Glazer, and the Glazer family, I would wonder, and I don't know the relationship, Shannon. You may know more about it than I do, and feel free to jump in with it if you've got some information, but we know he had the relationship with Robert Kraft, and Robert Kraft as an owner knows what Tom Brady did for that New England Patriots franchise with all those Super Bowls. I got to believe that the owners of Tampa Bay, Edward Glazer and his family, while sure they would love him to come back for another season, they've got to be thrilled about what happened in those 2 years with Tom Brady, most notably the Super Bowl championship. But I'm sure that team made so much money on jersey sales, on ticket sales, on marketing, on advertising dollars, on new adverts. Everything Brady did for 2 years, I think, made the Glazer family and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers a lot of money. I got to believe if Tom Brady went to ownership at Tampa Bay and said, listen, I know what Bruce Arians said, but I grew up a 49ers fan. My dream since I was a kid watching Joe Montana was to be a San Francisco 49er. Will you please release me or trade me or come up with a way so that I can get to San Francisco and be their quarterback now that they're blowing out Jimmy Garoppolo and they're not ready for Trey Lance or Trey Lance is not ready for prime time yet. I would think, Shannon, that ownership, almost like a lifetime achievement award or a thank you for 2 years that you really put this franchise on the map bigger than ever. I would think it would be hard to say no in good faith to Tom Brady after what he did for your franchise.
If it wasn't a business and if he was really able to pull at their heartstrings, maybe, but we talked about it yesterday. 2023, those creamsicle jerseys are coming out. If they had Tom Brady still on that roster, I mean, that would be a huge selling point for those jerseys. They're playing in Germany next year. They're the first team announced to be playing in Germany. The NFL, I think, would almost want Tom Brady, if he's going to play, to be a part of that game, just for the excitement of having the best player to ever play the game come to Germany and play with that team. Bruce Arians, I don't know if he was joking because it's such a high ask, but after he said trading Tom Brady would be bad for business and letting him go elsewhere, he asked what his price. They asked him what his price was, and he said 5 number ones. Which I don't know how you. I don't know anyone who's just got those lying around. So I don't know what the trade, thinking of San Francisco and what they have, what that might be for the Bucks, to where they'd say, "Oh, okay, maybe." We'll think about it. At least that, because right now it's like we've looked at the peephole and we're not even going to open the door to the cookies that you're selling.
Although, as you say that, Shannon, as we know, all negotiations, you start high, you ask for the moon, and then the other person goes, we're not giving you the moon. That's impossible. How about this? No, I want the moon. And how about this? And then you reach an accord. Jeremy KOLOK, do you see any scenario, A, where Tom Brady comes out of retirement, and or B, where he could convince the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to allow him to be traded somewhere else if he really wanted to go to some other team?
I think the only way he does come back is if he plays for another team, likely the 49ers, because of the childhood love for the 49ers that you mentioned. I don't think he would all of a sudden decide to come back and play for the Buccaneers. Obviously, we've seen crazier things happen, and who knows what he's going to do. But I just feel like Tom Brady is a obsessively calculated individual. I feel like he doesn't just wake up one day and feel different about something than he did 2 or 3 days ago or even weeks ago. obviously I don't know how he's feeling, and this whole situation's been a little weird just from the standpoint of like it getting reported that he was going to retire before he really announced it. So maybe he felt pressured into announcing it when he wasn't ready. I don't know. There might be factors like that, but I just feel like he's very, very calculated in the decisions he makes. I mean, every calorie that goes into his body is calculated.
Yep.
Every second of sleep he gets is calculated. So I just feel like it seems like he's the last type of person to go Brett Favre on us and to be like, I just really can't make a decision here. He just seems to me too calculated of an individual, and I think he really thought about it before he came to this decision.
You draw the perfect analogy, Jeremy. Brett Favre. Most of us remember when that was going on, when he said he was retiring, and then he thought about it. He goes, nope, I want to come back. And then at that point, Mike McCarthy was the head coach of the Green Bay Packers, and he and Packer ownership said, no, you said you're retiring. We got Aaron Rodgers here. And then he wound up going first to the Jets for a year and then to the Minnesota Vikings. But obviously you look at the two personalities, and Brett Favre obviously seems more compulsive and less disciplined. But Shannon, as I hear Jeremy say, and it's true by all accounts, Tom Brady is very calculating. He does track every calorie that goes into his body, but he's a human being, though. I mean, what on one level, Tom Brady seems like a robot, but he is a human being. He does have emotions, and I hear from professional athletes, this is the hardest thing in the world, to walk away from the game. And you often hear one of the biggest things is the camaraderie and the relationships with your fellow teammates. It's hard to give that up forever. And Shannon, I would think for Tom Brady, my gosh, look at the season he had last year. Statistically, he was as good as pretty much any quarterback in the NFL. And here he was 44 years old. I think as calculating as he is, and as set as he might have been on this in January, I got to believe it's going to begin to tug at his heartstrings. And I don't think the door is slammed shut. And he even said as much not long ago on that podcast, Never Say Never.
Yeah. Personally, if we were going to place bets, I'd say he's not coming back, just because it is already getting a little bit later. And with what Bruce Arians said, that it's kind of going to be difficult for him to end up on what a lot of people would perceive to be his dream team. And, he mentioned his family and his kids. And, obviously we've heard Giselle after every Super Bowl win, when is it going to be enough? And they talked about the concussions that I guess a lot of people didn't realize he had. And obviously getting older as well. And he's got his new clothing line that's out. I mean, Tom Brady's not going away by any means. I just don't think we'll be seeing him in the form of active football player anymore.
Yeah, we're getting a message on the live video feed from Wes Perkins, who writes, quote, "Family and kids are the great equalizer. Tom Brady truly might be feeling the pinch of watching his children get older and not being able to have time with them." So yeah, and Shannon, you bring up the concussions, and ultimately that's what Roger Staubach, right? I think Roger had like 2 concussions in his final year, and 3 in his final 2 years. And Roger's wife, Mary Ann, said, the kids and I want to have you for many years to come. You need to retire. That's a huge X factor. I mean, your wife, your significant other, your kids, and your health. And now even more so than Roger retires. I think it was in March of 1980. It was this time of year in March of 1980. Roger retires. We know so much more now about brain injuries and CTE and the damage that can be done. That's why I think that offensive lineman we talked about just a few days ago, Pro Bowler with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who was protecting Tom Brady at the age of 28. I think that's what went into his decision. I mean, at a certain level, you've made a certain amount of money and you analyze the science of what happens, and you think about how many times your head is going to collide with another player's helmet over the course of 1, 2, 3, 4 more seasons or whatever it is. And I think you make not only a business decision, but I think you make a life decision, because we've seen so many former NFL players and so many boxers whose lives are tragically altered for the worse after multiple blows to the head.
Yeah, I mean, you played in so many Super Bowls and won so many of them. Would the shot at one more be at the risk of forgetting all of the games you played because of something horrible happening? You know, a couple of hits, another concussion, whatever it may be. So for me, again, my vote and where my money would be going if I was still in Vegas is at Tom Brady not coming back.
I hate to see him go. I became a fan late in the game, Shannon, as you know. So and now who am I gonna? Now I got to figure out who's the old guy in the NFL. You know, as an old guy, I pulled for Tom Brady because he was the old guy. I know, some kind of So I got to find some old dude. Pull for that guy. All right, coming up, lots and lots more show coming your way just after 8:00. Mr. Bill Schoening, the voice of the San Antonio Spurs, and as Shannon mentions, he's got a new book coming out and a new audio book coming out that is not only his tales of, the road in the NBA, and I'm sure it details also his time as Texas Longhorns play-by-play man, but also includes some of his music, songs. The audio version is going to have music. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Spurs and the NBA with Bill Schoening. Coming up in moments, Shannon's salty shakedown, this day in sports history, sports birthdays, and more. Jeremy KOLOK makes the show go. We are with you till 9:00. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Chris Duel Show. Yeah, there you go, Jason. Matt Ryan. Maybe he's my new favorite old quarterback. Or Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. Good point. Kind of hard to cheer for Aaron Rodgers. Okay, I got to edit some audio here. Let's see. That is 159. And we want to see if we can get that down a little bit to like a minute. Let me see what I can do here. Has just dropped via the free iHeartRadio app. And you and I were holding this in our hands. And, you and I, Shannon, we do a lot of the talking on this show because we're the talk show hosts. But a bigger, easier chance now for the listeners to talk back to us through the iHeartRadio app. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's a real.
Okay, I need to cut some of that. So let's do this. Where is the tell us about it? Is it right there? It's probably right there.
Yesterday, they're all pretty short.
Talk back to us through the iHeartRadio app. Tell us about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go there. Now, Shannon, something very, very cool has just dropped via the free iHeartRadio app. And you and I were holding this in our hands. And, you and I, Shannon, we do a lot of the talking on this show. Get rid of that. And, you and I, Shannon, we do a lot. Get rid of that. You and I, Shannon, we do a lot of the talking on this show because we're the talk show hosts. But a bigger, because we're the talk show hosts. But on this show, but a bigger, easier chance now for the listeners to talk back to us through the iHeartRadio app. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's a really cool function, actually, that I played around with a lot yesterday. So I actually have the page pulled up. So if you do end up testing it out this morning,
Now, Shannon, something very, very cool has just dropped via the free iHeartRadio app. You and I, Shannon, we do a lot of the talking on this show, but a bigger, easier chance now for the listeners to talk back to us through the iHeartRadio app. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's a really cool function, actually, that I played around with a lot yesterday. So I actually have the page pulled up. So if you do end up testing it out this morning, I will be seeing your messages come in live. I see mine from yesterday. They're all pretty short and don't say a whole lot. But what you can do is open that iHeartRadio app, tune in to Ticket 760 or AM 1300 Zone. You'll notice there's now a little microphone button. You'll press that. You have 30 seconds to record whatever your message is. Afterwards, you press send, and you'll get a little message that says your message, your voicemail has been sent to the station. And like I said, I've got the page pulled up, so I'll be getting those in real time this morning. And we'd love to share that audio over the air if it's good. I mean, make it appropriate. You know, don't be cursing. We still have to share that audio over the air if over the air if it's good. I mean, make it appropriate.
Okay, let's see here. Here we go.
get back to the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty on Twitter, at Chris Duel and at Shannon B. Sweeney.
Welcome back on a Wednesday, on an Ash Wednesday and a Texas Independence Wednesday, a morning after the election, or at least the primary, or the it was primaries, typically, generally, on the Democratic side and the Republican side in the election. So some runoffs coming, depending on what races you were following. So hope you voted, and if you didn't, you'll get another chance later in the year. And if there are runoffs, you can go vote in the runoffs. So do your civic duty. On Taco Tuesday, we eat tacos. On Election Day, we vote, because we're Americans. Shannon's Salty Shakedown is moments away. And just after the top of the hour, we're probably about 20 minutes away from Mr. Bill Schoening joining us, a little over 20 minutes away. Bill Schoening will talk NBA, we'll talk Spurs, we'll talk music, we'll talk Longhorns, we'll talk about his book, we'll talk about his mustache. God knows what else we'll talk about. Bill Schoening going to join us just after the top of the hour. Always informative, enlightening, and entertaining. That is coming up before Shannon's Salty Shakedown. Right now, how about some sports birthdays and this day in sports history? This day, March 2nd, 1962. Where were you in 62? Philadelphia center Wilt Chamberlain scores 100 points in a game, the most ever by an NBA player in a single game. The Philadelphia Warriors beat the New York Knicks 169-147 in Hershey, Pennsylvania. Wilt went 36 of 63 from the field. He was 28 of 32 from the free throw line. He took 63 shots. Those other four guys were like, Wilt, yo, I'm open. You want to throw me? Wilt, yo. This day in 1980, Phoenix Suns point guard Mike Bratz ends his NBA free throw streak at 57 games with a miss in the Suns' 123-115 home win over the LA Lakers. Mike Bratz, a one-time San Antonio Spur and a longtime Sacramento Kings executive. Finally, on this day in 2012, the NFL announces its investigation found the existence of a bounty program in the New Orleans Saints locker room where players were given incentives to injure opposing players to make more cash. Coach Sean Payton is suspended for the 2012 season. That would inspire a movie that I haven't seen yet, but there's that. That's your sports history. How about some sports birthdays? Born on this day in 1937, Basketball Hall of Fame coach Denny Crum coached at Louisville, won the NCAA championship in 1980 and 1986. He went to 6 Final Fours. Denny Crum was born in San Fernando, California. Born on this day in 1982, he turns 40 years old today. Big Ben Roethlisberger, won Super Bowls in 05 and 08, went to the Pro Bowl in 07, 11, 14 through 17. Just announced his retirement this past year. Big Ben Roethlisberger was born in Lima, Ohio. And finally, born on this day in 1985, a man who tried to single-handedly destroy the football program of my beloved alma mater, USC, Reggie Bush. Not that I'm bitter. Okay, I'm bitter. Reggie Bush, Heisman Trophy winner in 2005. It was taken away. We'll take that back, Reggie. OJ still has his Heisman. Reggie. Now, actually, OJ doesn't. It was like taken away from him in a civil judgment. Never mind that. But I think officially OJ is still a Heisman Trophy winner. He just doesn't have the Heisman anymore. Reggie Bush was born on this day in 1985 in Spring Valley, California. Reggie, I hope your parents enjoyed the condo because USC nearly got the death penalty. And we got Lane Kiffin out of the deal. How'd that work out? Not that I'm bitter. I'll let it go someday. That's your sports birthdays. That's your sports history. And now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, countrymen, farm animals, pole assassins, and monkeys, here it is, your Wednesday Salty Shakedown.
Chris, I did my thing yesterday. I took a nap, and post-nap is when I always start prepping for the next day's show. Woo. And what do I see trending at the top of my Twitter feed is the WNBA. And I think, oh, that's so nice. We're getting excited for the summer already. We're ready for the season. We're talking about players that are currently playing overseas and wanting to come back and get ready for the summer. But no, Chris, it can't be nice. Because as much as we're trying to build up the WNBA is essentially knocking itself down because yesterday they fined the Liberty team $500,000 for taking charter flights towards the end of last season. And on top of this fine, the WNBA apparently considered just debunking, getting rid of the team altogether, just saying you're done. You can't do charter flights. You're done. That's such a cheating. That's the biggest cheating scandal ever. We can't allow it. And some may say chartering flights, why would that be cheating? Well, because the WNBA does not have the funds that the NBA and NFL and all of those other major sports have, they consider it an advantage for teams to be able to charter flights, a disadvantage to those that can't. So to level the playing field in that way, they make everybody do, I guess they all fly coach. I guess they all go to the airport like normal people and walk through security and have to deal with all of that. So it's unfair if a team gets to charter a flight and has owners with deeper pockets that can afford charter flights for their team to maybe help them perform a little bit better. Maybe just get those extra minutes of sleep or more comfortable situations on the airplanes. On the one hand, I get it. On the other hand, how are we still struggling to afford WNBA teams across the board charter flights? I think that's the bigger issue here. Not that one team did it while others couldn't afford it. Why is that not the bare? I mean, you think of the NBA, that is the bare minimum in the NBA is how teams get from one destination to another. And the WNBA, we're now fining teams $500,000 because they're doing something that would be considered the minimum in the NBA. Chris, I don't know how they finagle this, but those women, those players, they need chartered flights, and it shouldn't be something that's considered cheating, I think, in my mind. How about you?
It's such a crazy story, and I never knew that this was part of the WNBA rules that you couldn't charter a flight. I totally agree with you. The WNBA needs to make this happen for its athletes. You know, we talked to Andy Everett, and he'll be on the show tomorrow. UTSA charters flights for its football team. The WNBA needs to come up with that money. And I guess if I was another team, if I was Becky Hammon coaching the Las Vegas Aces, which she is scheduled to do this coming season, and the New York Liberty, which, by the way, was her former team, her original team in the WNBA, had the charter flight. I guess you could argue that is an advantage. However, they need to it's the WNBA, man. I agree with you. Every team in the WNBA needs to charter flights. It should be a league-wide goal and mandate, and they got to find a way to make that happen. Yeah,
and to do that, they're going to want more money. I don't know where that's going to come from, but hopefully this will spark a conversation. Sir, we are about 3 weeks removed now from the Super Bowl. It's been very sad and lonely without college football. A lot of people still talking about both football, college football, and NFL football. A lot of people still talking about the game. A lot of people still talking about that halftime performance. And we've had enough time in between that we now know the number of complaints that were filed to the FCC because of that halftime performance. And some of those complaints, word for word, if we recall a couple years ago, J-Lo, Shakira, they were the headliners for the halftime show, and their performance received thousands of complaints. A lot of people not happy, felt like it was over-sexualized. Chris, before I give you the official number of complaints to the FCC for this year's performance, West Coast style, what's your guess on the number here? I'll let you and Jeremy take a stab at it.
Okay. If Shakira and J-Lo generated thousands of complaints, I don't think this was as sexualized, so I'll cut that in half. So I'll say 1,200 complaints. Jeremy, how many complaints do you want to guess?
I'll go under. I'll go like 900.
900.
900.
Okay.
All right.
What do you got?
It was 33. 33, just 33 complaints
Wow.
filed to the
My
FCC.
goodness.
And lots of people, apparently the total number of people who tuned into the Super Bowl at some point was over 200 million, right? There was about 113 million that actually watched the full thing, but over 200 million tuned in at some point. So 33 doesn't sound so bad. Some of these complaints, people very worried about the children, sir. So if 2020 wasn't bad enough, now we get to see a bunch of half-naked women sexually twerking. This is terrible entertainment for children. Sexual content of grown hip-hop and rap grabbing their groin and genitals, so offensive to children, the elderly, and families. One says the consumer complains the Super Bowl halftime show was disgusting. He believes them grabbing and touching their breasts was offensive. And another just says consumer did not appreciate that. Finally, they do compare it, of course, to the Janet Jackson wardrobe malfunction. That one received 540,000 complaints. I don't know that we'll see another number like that, but someone referencing
That's
that
the record.
said Janet Jackson's performance was 1,000 times better and 100% not her fault. And then to my disgruntlement, glad Justin Timberlake wasn't invited into the Super Bowl to this year's show. Listen, in watching it back, I can see a couple moments where people were like, oh, well, Kendrick Lamar he just did a gun symbol to the camera. Why would they allow that? Like, I can see where people who are looking for something to complain about might complain. But I think it's pretty good. Only 33. I was kind of expecting more because I feel like a lot of people were upset with the named performers to begin with, that they would be looking for something. But only 33. Not so bad for this year's performance. Did you have any complaints, Chris, that you needed to file to the FCC?
I wanted a little more Snoop Dogg in the entire thing, but no complaints. But again, as you point out, Janet Jackson is the GOAT for Super Bowl halftime complaints. Tom Brady is the GOAT on the field. Your halftime GOAT for generating complaints, Janet Jackson.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, my only complaint was that I think the show should have been longer. I think we should have just maybe extended it by another 10 minutes because I would have enjoyed more Snoop and more Kendrick and more of everybody, really. Finally today, Chris, I wanted to bring some light into the world of baseball because, as we know, the MLB and the players did not get a deal done yesterday. So the season has officially been delayed, and we will have to continue to wait and see when we'll get a start date, if that, for the 2022 calendar year in the MLB. But luckily for us in the Central Texas area, it does not mean that we will be without baseball because the AAA division here in Austin, Round Rock area, the Round Rock Express, they are still going to be starting their season. So I'd like to go with you now through some of the exciting things that they're going to be doing. Their season gets underway April 5th. It's a Tuesday. They'll play El Paso. For opening night, they'll have a brew review, which means around the concourse at the stadium, you can try, if you're 21 and up, you can try some craft brews. That's free, by the way, if you get in. I mean, that right there is incentive enough.
My goodness.
On top of it, what should be
free beer.
A great day. Special fireworks. They always do fireworks on Friday nights, but special opening night fireworks that will be, of course, train themed for the Round Rock Express. And then, as always, listen, they play nearly every day in AAA. Okay, it's just like the major leagues. They play every day, but Mondays. So every time there's a home game, there's something going on out there at the Dell Diamond. You got Kids Day on Sundays, 512 Tuesdays, Dollar Hot Dog Wednesdays, Thirsty Thursdays, which of course has specials on domestic drafts and canned beers, Firework Fridays that usually have a post-game concert as well, and Saturdays at the park that are great for families and friends. They've also got stuff going on that are just specials because it's a special day, whether it be pints and pups in the park or some great giveaways. April 8th, they've got a hat that I'm really interested in. They've also got themed nights like 90s night. Make sure you get to their website, roundrockexpress.com, and check out all the things that they've got going on. I know San Antonio's got their team down there as well. So if you're upset about the MLB not getting started, be thankful we still have baseball and local baseball and teams that we can cheer on. Get out there and support them. Chris, have you ever thrown a first pitch?
I have not, and I'm almost kind of glad I've never been asked because a lot of times, as you know, if people know somebody like from radio, comes out and throws it. It often goes badly. What about you?
I've done it. And I'm proud to say it was a pretty nice throw.
Nailed it.
Made it over the plate. My thing, I just didn't want to bounce it. I didn't want it to go too far. But I was happy with my performance and with, I think, my career of first pitch throwing. Let's call it a day, maybe. Let me have my one that was decent enough. I don't feel like I need to redeem myself. So I'm not super keen on getting back out there. If they asked me, I'd probably do it. But I'd probably have to practice even harder for the next one. But there it is. Today it's Salty Shakedown.
Outstanding. And I remember a year ago, before the baseball season, Shannon, we had the general manager of each of the teams, the Round Rock Express and the San Antonio Missions / San Antonio Flying Chanclas.
Yes.
We should probably do that again because it is cool. It's the pureness of the game. There's nothing like a nice day, a nice spring or summer's day with some friends going out to the ballpark. As you mentioned, Shannon, minor league baseball goes out of their way to make it fun, family friendly, adult friendly. You mentioned the craft beer and pints and pups. And so, yeah, well, it's definitely you said April 5th. So we got sometime late March, or as April approaches, we'll grab either the GM or a representative from the Round Rock Express and from the San Antonio Missions, and we'll definitely talk about it.
Yeah, I was deep diving into their schedule yesterday, and it was exactly my thought. We got to get those guys back to hype up the season. I'm looking forward to it this year. I really am.
You know, there's another guy that I'm thinking about getting on the show because he's out there on social media and he sells memorabilia. My favorite movie ever is Field of Dreams, right? Kevin Costner's dad in the movie. You know, son, you want to have a catch? Or dad, you want to have a catch? His name is Dwyer Brown. He's an actor named Dwyer. He's Kevin Costner's dad in Field of Dreams. If you build it, he will come. He turned out to be his dad, in addition to shoeless Joe Jackson. But so he's selling like autographed Field of Dreams jerseys and like pictures, and he sells memorabilia from the movie. So I figured we'll interview him. If Major League Baseball season ever starts, we'll get Dwyer Brown on the show, talk about the movie, talk about baseball, and he can pimp his merch. So, plus I'll go all gaga, knowing that we're talking to Costner's dad from Field of Dreams on the show.
I'll need to watch that
movie. We got all kinds
movie.
of baseball guests we got to book. Have you not seen Field of Dreams?
No, sir.
Is that official?
No, sir. I have not seen it.
My favorite movie ever. Not just my favorite sports movie. My favorite movie ever is Field of Dreams. Seen it about 700 times. I know I'm a freak. All right. Bill Schoening is not a freak. He's a man. He's a broadcaster. He's an Iron Man about to broadcast his 2000th consecutive Spurs game. Bill Schoening joins us next. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Chris Duel Show. Louisa says, I've never seen so much junk grabbing in my life. Maybe they should bathe more often. That doesn't entertain me. Baseball players grab to fix a protective cup, but it's not every 5 seconds. There you go, Louisa. File a formal complaint to the FCC. We'll get up to 34. Yeah, if a crotch grabbing is not necessary, I never, like in rap and like when Michael Jackson would do it, the crotch grab to like, whoa, I'm special. I never got it. Never really got it. All right. I think I've got iced tea, but I don't have ice. You can't have iced tea without ice. Gold Peak should be a sponsor. Gosh darn it. Unsweetened. Because God knows I don't need the extra carbs. All right. Let's see. I'm going to go get ice. I'll be right back. Wow. Jason. What are you saying, sir? Let's see, when they announced the baseball situation yesterday.
Don't worry, your bill's gone up. Switch to State Farm for surprisingly great rates. You might be a good neighbor. State Farm is there. Call or visit statefarm.com for a quote today.
Okay, let's see. I better go get ice or I'm going to run out of time. I'll be back in a sec. I'll give you more Jeremy. Since I'm walking away for a second. There he is. Suitable for framing. Great American, a fine human being. Robert says, as you know, the relaunch of the USFL starts next month. At least we will have some football to talk about. Yeah, there's a story we're going to cover probably after 8:30, after Bill Schoening, Robert, involving the USFL and some legal issues, some people wanting to sue the USFL. But yeah, more football is good football. I was really enjoying the XFL before it went under. The Dallas and the Houston franchises. Obviously, I want a San Antonio franchise. And there should certainly, and there should have been in the XFL, because 30,000 showed up for, we had the second largest attendance next to Orlando, I believe, in the Alliance of American Football. And it was very close. We darn near had number one, I do believe. And I think we would have, they scheduled one of those games opposite the Spurs in the Alliance, which was stupid because there's 17,000 fans going to the Spurs game, of which, heck, 5,000 of them would have come over, I think, and watched football. But anyway, nonetheless, I enjoyed the product of the XFL, and I got a feeling I'm going to enjoy the USFL. And again, more football is good football, but at the same time, we had the San Antonio Gunslingers in the USFL, and we've demonstrated time and time again when the Saints came here in 2005 for 3 games in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, and that's before the Saints were any good. Those were bad football games, and we filled up, well, not bad football games, but just the teams themselves. The only interesting one, Michael Vick played for the Atlanta Falcons. That was the only opponent that really brought in star power. But we filled up the dome. See, I didn't realize that, Robert. Spring football for the NCAA is going to be fun to watch. I see what you're saying. I thought you were talking about pandemic spring actual football. You're talking about the spring scrimmages. He's ready? Thanks. I got to get my Bill Schoening. Where's my Bill Schoening photo? Gotta have Bill. I got a Carl Schoening. That won't work. Here he is. That's Bill Schoening. About to join us on the radio. I think. I do believe. Here we go.
This is the Chris Duel Show.
Top of each hour, I mute a little bit during this intro music because Facebook has run us before.
Now, Chris Duel.
Welcome into the 8 o'clock hour on this Wednesday, March 2nd, this Texas Independence Day, March 2nd. It is also Ash Wednesday. It is the day after the election, and it's the eve of the Spurs resuming their home schedule after the rodeo road trip where they went 4-4. They had a shot at 5-3 on the rodeo road trip, but all things being considered, I'm kind of satisfied as a Spurs fan with a 4-4 rodeo road trip. And as Shannon and I mentioned earlier in the show, tomorrow will be a landmark broadcast for the voice of the San Antonio Spurs, Bill Schoening. It will be his 2000th consecutive Spurs broadcast, which if you've ever been in radio or if you've ever had a job and shown up 2,000 times in a row without ever calling in sick, That's pretty darn amazing. Bill Schoening, you are an Iron Man, sir. They should give you some kind of an award at halftime tomorrow.
I don't think that's the case. I just showed up for work. I've been pretty lucky. I've been very fortunate to be healthy. Now there were probably 2 games, maybe one especially, that I probably shouldn't even been on the air. But I struggled through it. You probably remember that game at Salt Lake City a couple of years ago, Chris.
Yep.
I felt fine. The funny thing is I felt okay, but my voice was just in the crapper, and it was not very good. I had a friend of mine listen to that game and say, congratulations, you got through that game, but you sounded like Kermit the Frog after smoking a pack of Pall Malls. And I'm thinking, not many people remember Pall Malls. I know you do.
I do.
But the younger generation, I don't know if Pall Malls are still around. Thank goodness I never got into the habit of smoking, but I'm sure I didn't sound very good that night. But I got by with a little help from my friends. So, yeah, I've been fortunate, 20 years. Now, the first year that I did the Spurs, Chris, as you know, I was still doing Longhorn football. So I didn't master the art of being in 2 places at one time. I couldn't figure quite out how to do that. So the streak actually started the day after the Holiday Bowl. Longhorns beat the University of Washington in a great football game in San Diego. And then I flew to San Antonio the next day and did the Detroit Pistons game at the Alamo Dome. And that was the first of, I guess tomorrow night will be 2,000 straight. Yeah.
Wow.
Bill, for coaches and players who hit even 1,000, much less 2,000, that mark for games, it's a big to do. It's a celebration. Something special is done for them. You now going on your 2,000th game. I mean, I know there's a lot of banners already in that AT&T arena, but what are they going to do for you? Because I feel like you're worthy of a banner to go right up there with those championships after this 2,000th game.
Well, I think you're overestimating my value there just a little bit, Shannon. I appreciate the thought, and
Never.
I just showed up for work, so no, I don't need any banners. I don't, a pat on the back is fine. I'm just going to keep going. It's just another game, but I guess I've just been fortunate because one of my friends with the Houston Rockets, Craig Ackerman, tried to figure out exactly which play-by-play guy had the best winning percentage. Now, of course, play-by-play guys, as you guys know, have absolutely nothing to do with wins and losses, but that just underscores how fortunate and blessed I've been that I've got, I guess, Craig figured it out, the best winning percentage of any radio guy. Now, of course, Chick Hearn, we're talking about radio guys who showed up for work. He didn't miss a game from 1965 to 2001. Think about that now.
Wow.
So it was 3,388 consecutive games for Chick Hearn. So I'm just, barely past the halfway mark to reach him. So I won't catch Chick until the 38-39 season. And Chris will still be in the studio. I'll be still doing the games.
Now, I wonder, will Brawny James still be playing for the Spurs at that time?
Brawny James will be LeBron's age.
Yes, right. That's
so, yeah.
But so to be clear, though, now obviously Chick Hearn has all those games, but from a winning percentage standpoint, I've never thought of that stat before. We need to publish these stats on social media, Bill. You have the greatest winning percentage of any major sports play-by-play guy. That's so cool.
I don't know if it's any major sport. He's talking about the NBA specifically, because maybe the guy that does the New England Patriots has a better winning percentage. I have no idea, to be honest with you. But it was just a little fun nugget, that I've been lucky. I think, Pop and Manu, Tim, and Tony probably a little bit more to do with that winning percentage than I do.
The Spurs are coming home from their rodeo road trip to play the Sacramento Kings tomorrow night. How are we looking to play this one here? They went 500 during the rodeo road trip. I know last year playing at home was actually a struggle for the Spurs. I'd hope they've evened out a little bit this year, but I know after being on the road for so long, it might almost feel like a road game as they get used to playing in their home arena again.
Well, I think it's good they had 2 days off. Because sometimes when you get that first game back, especially if you only have one day after a long road trip, it almost feels like you're still out on the road. So I think that extra day will help. They're going to get a practice in today. One of the things that Pop talked about after the game the other night was the fact that they didn't start out very well. He wanted them to get off to a better start, especially defensively. And Memphis scored 42 points in that opening quarter. Now, after that, the Spurs defense did play better, but of course they couldn't stop John Morant. That was a problem. A lot of teams are having a hard time stopping John Morant. And what he's doing right now is really jaw-dropping. I mean, it's pretty amazing when you think of this guy coming out of Murray State, which is a small university, and doing the kind of things he's doing, and not just against the Spurs, as I mentioned. He had 46 against Chicago on Saturday night, which was a personal high for him, career high, and a franchise record. And then 2 nights later, he shatters that by scoring 52. So he's doing some amazing things. But to get back to your question, Shannon, about the Spurs, I think that they want to get off to a better start and play, solid basketball. I know that Pop feels like they're making improvements in certain areas, and they are. But now they've got a chance to maybe gain some traction now that they're at home. Of course, they've got one home game and they go back on the road and play Charlotte. But they've got a stretch of home games here for a while now. So we'll see if they can make up some ground. They're only a game and a half behind the 10th place team right now, which is New Orleans. So they still have a good chance for that play-in game. But they'll have to play well down the stretch. They got 20 games left.
Yep. Back to John Morant for a moment as we speak with the voice of the San Antonio Spurs, Bill Schoening. I heard somebody on national radio make this comparison, and it involves John Morant, but it's not specifically about John Morant. They were talking about Zion Williamson, and they were saying, things have not worked out. Zion Williamson was the number 1 overall pick. He's had weight issues. He's had injury issues. Some people say he might have nutritional eating issues. And there are some who say from a discipline standpoint, maybe he doesn't have the desire that some had hoped coming into the league, but he was the number 1 overall pick. The number 2 pick that year was John Morant. And Bill, the comparison they were making was to Greg Oden. That Greg Oden, a number 1 overall pick, it just didn't work out, obviously. But the number 2 pick to Greg Oden that year was Kevin Durant. So it just goes to show, Bill, in these NBA drafts, you can have the number 1 overall pick, but it might not mean much unless that guy realizes the potential you think he has.
Yeah, you go all the way back to Sam Bowie when Portland took Sam Bowie. Remember, he was a dominant center at Kentucky. But it's unfortunate because you mentioned Greg Oden with the injury situation. Zion's got injuries that have popped up. Bowie had a leg that just never really properly healed. And I believe Michael Jordan went number 3 in that draft. Now, in Portland's defense, they had Clyde Drexler at the time. So maybe they felt like they didn't want to duplicate positions because Clyde and Michael kind of played the same spot. Although in retrospect, it sure would be nice to have Clyde and Michael on the same team, right? It wouldn't matter who played center maybe, but hindsight's 20/20, or as Yogi Berra used to say, hindsight is 50-50. But it's a tough break. And who knows if Zion will be able to, get back to the level where folks thought he could be when he was drafted number 1 overall out of Duke.
Bill, we're finally in the month of March, which means your book, Stories, Sports, and Songs, is coming out. We talked about the 2000 game that you're going to be broadcasting for the Spurs. And so I'm sure just a handful of those games will be mentioned in your upcoming book. But I'm curious, are you going to be on a book tour? I mean, I feel like that's why you release a book. It's so you can go on great shows like the one you attend every Wednesday at 8:05. It's like the Chris Duel show. But is there anything else where we see you?
One show, of course.
Will we get to see the mustache on TV somewhere? A GMA, a Today Show. I mean, what's the book tour schedule looking like?
Oprah.
Yeah, well, later this week I'm meeting with our publisher. I've got a great publisher, Stephanie Larkin from Red Penguin Books, and she's really helped me in this process because I never thought I'd write a book, guys. It's so funny because when COVID happened, there was no games. I had a backup plan. I was going to do some college baseball for Texas State, but the day after the NBA shut down, college baseball shut down. So I found myself in front of a computer going, okay, well, if I'm going to write a book, now'd be the time to do it because I got time. And I never dreamed I'd be writing for I wrote for well over a year, and then I edited for a while and got some, technical things taken care of and some editing done. And finally, I sent the final manuscript in, I guess it was 2 weeks ago. And Stephanie said, is this the final thing? Because I'm going to put it in book format and put your pictures in and all that. Okay, yeah, do it. And then she sent me back about an hour later an email that said, congratulations, you have now written a 312-page book. I'm like, wow, I wrote War and Peace. Who knew, But then, there will be plenty of stories about the Spurs. A lot of my early life, growing up in Philadelphia, a sports crazy city, how I grew up right around the corner from a huge playground, a recreation center that had football fields, basketball courts, tennis courts, a swimming pool. So I was kind of involved in athletics from the time I was a very little kid. And that probably was the root of all this, wanting to be a sportscaster from a very young age.
Well, Bill, I can't wait for the book. Shannon can't wait for the book. I imagine so many sports fans who know your work in Austin, in San Antonio, across Texas and the country can't wait for the book. But I told you this the other day in the studio. I am a huge fan of Audible as a brand, but audio books, because I like to not only read books, I like to hear the voice of the author, knowing how they are expressing what they wrote. And what I'm excited about with your book, Bill, I mean, not only are you going to do an audio book because you're a communicator, you're a broadcaster, so you know how to express yourself in front of a microphone. So I can't wait to hear your audio version of the book in addition to reading it. But as we've talked about over the years on this show and elsewhere, you're a singer-songwriter. You also create music and create songs and perform them, and songs is in the title of your book. So in the audio version, I'm assuming, and I'm asking, are we going to hear Bill Schoening music in the audio version of this book?
Yeah, that was part of the concept of the audiobook, was to include the songs. And it's funny because Red Penguin has never done an audiobook with music in it. And so we're going through the whole process of, me getting the masters to her and the MP3 files and all that kind of stuff. So that's been a process. But, I've written all these songs. I've written close to 30 songs, but I picked out 13 of my favorites. And then I would tell the stories about the songs themselves, how they evolved, what happened, what inspired this particular tune. And they're all different kinds of songs. Chris, I've written songs about faith, family, history, geography, friends, accomplishments of friends. I've got a song about my father in there, who was a World War II veteran, almost got killed in World War II. So there's a lot of different songs in there, but I've interspersed the stories with the songs. So hopefully when you get the audio book, you'll be able to, I don't want to hear that story. Let's go to the next one, or I want to hear a song or whatever. And we may do a separate CD with that too. So now some of these are still in the formative stages, but as far as the audio book is concerned, that probably won't be out until sometime in May.
Bill, I'm going through some stories about the Spurs from this week, and one of them is about Jimmy Butler and DeJounte Murray. After their recent matchup, Mr. Jimmy Butler signed one of his jerseys and wrote the message to DeJounte Murray, "My brother, I'm so happy and proud of you. One of my favorite players, respect." We know DeJounte Murray is a star. He's an all-star, in fact, at this moment. But he's coming up and becoming a true star for this Spurs team. What does it mean for him to get something like that from a Jimmy Butler, who is obviously a very well-known and face of the game at this point, for this young star and for the Spurs, that he's getting recognized in this way?
Oh, I think this is going to be a big step for him, because I think he really thoroughly enjoyed that weekend. Well, all the different things that happened for the players, the recognition that he got, the fact that he got a chance to meet some of those legends, and the 75-year anniversary they were having. So all of those things are good, not just Jimmy Butler, but a lot of other veteran players. LeBron James is a big fan of DeJounte Murray. And I think a lot of those guys know how tough it was for DeJounte coming up. He had a rough upbringing in Seattle. That story's been well documented. And the maturity that he has shown since he's gotten to San Antonio, and the trust the coaching staff has in him now to be the leader of this ball club, and the fact that he's taken that responsibility very seriously. I think all of those factors have made DeJounte a star, and he just wants to keep going. In fact, I think one of the things he said during All-Star Weekend was, I'm not, he didn't say one-trick pony. I'm not a one-hit wonder, is what he said. I'm not a one-hit wonder. I'm going to come back and do this again. So he knows the kind of work that it requires to get to that level. And I think even more importantly right now, his teammates realize that the amount of work that DeJounte put in, especially coming off that devastating ACL injury a couple of years ago, young guys like Lonnie Walker and Keldon Johnson and Josh Primo, they see the work that DeJounte puts in. He is a true leader in this ball club, and that inspires them to put a lot of work in. Remember, Keldon Johnson said before the All-Star break, he's going to take one day off during the All-Star break. He's going to be in the gym every day. So he knows that it takes that kind of dedication, that kind of work to get that game to the next level.
You got to love that work ethic. We're talking with the voice of the San Antonio Spurs, Bill Schoening. And Bill, I'm really getting the feeling, and I said all year, watching this Spurs team and being a part of your broadcasts on the radio side, while there were a lot of games that the Spurs were in them near the end, and then they got away and they lost some of those games, we've felt that, this is a young team that will eventually learn how to win those games. But I've even in some of those losses felt, and I felt throughout the season, that I really believe from a talent level and watching this team grow, I think it's a little bit ahead of schedule. Actually, I hear some spoiled Spurs fans that are used to Tim and Manu and Tony and winning 55 or 60 games a year and always going into and deep into the playoffs. Some of those Spurs fans are complaining about, what is inevitable, which is a cycle in basketball and what is now a youth movement for the Spurs. But I'm really getting the feeling now, Bill, they've won 5 out of their last 9. If they beat Sacramento, they will have won 6 out of 10. I'm just watching their play and now seeing some results on the rodeo road trip and in the win column now. It kind of feels this team is beginning to turn a corner. Are you seeing that as you call these games?
Well, what you look for with young players is consistency. And I know one of the players that they've asked about a lot with Pop is Lonnie Walker. And now in the last, during the rodeo road trip, Lonnie put up great numbers. He shot 50% from the field, averaged 21 points per game. And we're seeing that aggressiveness from Lonnie. And to answer your question, Chris, there are some players that are starting to really kind of get into a rhythm right now. So hopefully they can stay healthy during this 20-game stretch and, make some inroads, win some of those tight games down the stretch, and get into the play-in and see what happens. I mean, I think any experience they get in postseason would be very important, especially for the younger players who haven't had a chance to taste that postseason success yet.
Finally, Bill, Shannon and I have been talking about it, the Frank Irwin Center closing down. The Longhorns will move into the Moody Center next year. During the Spurs broadcast Monday night, that the Longhorns men's basketball team played Baylor. That was their final game in the Irwin Center. And the women's basketball team this Saturday takes on Oklahoma State, and that will be it. The final basketball game in the Irwin Center. You spent so much time as the longtime voice of the Texas Longhorns. I just want to get your thoughts. I know as a fan, when the Hemisphere Arena closed down, I was sad. I hate to see that place go. The Alamo Dome, as weird as it was, and we wanted to move into the SBC Center, therefore later the AT&T Center, but there's still a lot of nostalgia. Your thoughts and your memories as the Texas Longhorns say farewell to the Irwin Center.
I guess my fondest memories, Chris, of that building were during the period of the Runnin' Horns with Tom Penders. Penders had just taken over in the late 80s and really revitalized that program. Got some guards, mostly from New York City. Of course, Travis Mays was from Ocala, Florida, but that BMW, Blanks, Mays, and Wright. We know Lance Blanks, of course, he worked for the Spurs for years and worked in the front office in the NBA and now is on the Longhorn Network. But those three guys kind of really revitalized everything, got the thing going. They started getting a lot more fans there in the Irwin Center. So those were fond memories for me. Then, of course, Rick Barnes took over, and they had guys like Chris Mim, who played very well for the Spurs or for the Longhorns and then got drafted. Didn't have the kind of pro career we thought he might because of injuries, but so some great memories of players that came through there. Reggie Freeman, Terrence Frencher, the list goes on and on of fine players that played for the Longhorns. And I was really kind of sad that we had the conflict the other night with the Spurs game because I wanted to go see the final men's game at the Irwin Center. And my friend Craig Way, of course, took over for me when I left UT. He put a picture out on Facebook of him, Vern Lundquist, and Brad Sham, who all made the final game. And I would have loved to have, hung out with those guys for a little bit at the Irwin Center on the final night. So there's a lot of talent in the picture. But I know Brad very well. Of course, I haven't had a chance to really meet and visit with Vern. I've had some contact with him. I just read his book, which was awesome. But there was a certain sense of nostalgia there that night on Monday night. When they had the final game. I think actually the final basketball game, believe it or not, Chris, at the Irwin Center will be the Harlem Globetrotters.
Whoa.
So, yeah.
I didn't realize that.
The Globetrotters are going to play in April, and I think that'll be the final game in that building. And, of course, the Moody Center is supposed to be just outstanding, and they're going to move in there next year.
Yeah, I can't wait to check out that building when it comes online. And that takes us full circle, Bill. Had you gone on Monday night to that Longhorn game, you would have broken the 2,000 consecutive games called streak that you're going to set tomorrow night, which is going to be amazing. So, and that's a lot of sacrifices, not only physical sacrifices, Bill, but other stuff you could have done, but you were dedicated to the San Antonio Spurs. Once again, if you're just tuning in, tomorrow night when Bill calls the Spurs game, that will be his 2000th consecutive Spurs broadcast, which is absolutely remarkable. Bill will have the call tomorrow, tip off just after 7:30 at the AT&T Center as the Spurs host the Sacramento Kings pregame Spurs radio game night, originating through 1200 WOAI in San Antonio and across the Spurs radio network with Bill beginning at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. Bill, congratulations in advance on number 2000 in a row. I'll be honored to be a part of it. Look forward to your call tomorrow night. Thanks for taking the time. We always love having you on a Wednesday. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate the kind words.
Thanks so much. Bill Schoening, the voice of the San Antonio Spurs. I'm going to have to do the math, Shannon, 2000 consecutive, in a 52-week work year, how many days in a row would you have to go to work without missing? It's like I missed a day. Last week I went on vacation. You took President's Day off. I mean, Bill Schoening,
I got it for you.
Dude never takes off.
Yeah, it's equivalent to 5.6 years.
Wow. See, and
that's
going way back, and I know that's crazy. See, I remember the original voice of the Spurs, Terry Stembridge. He would miss. Sometimes he'd go to TV, and Gary DeLon, who just passed away. We love Gary. Gary would be like the fill-in guy for radio there. And I remember Jay Howard even. I remember once, and Jay was the predecessor to Bill as voice of the Spurs. But even Don Harris, and I love Don, the sports director, and a longtime Spurs fan since he was a kid, was able to do play-by-play. He did a game that Jay Howard was unable to make for I forget the reason. But, man, for Bill Schoening to go 2000 in a row, just huge dedication, and a lot of things have to go right. And he did a couple of times have to play hurt when the voice was acting up on him a little bit. But he found a way, and he made it through. Quick break. We still got a lot to talk about in the world of sports. A lawsuit against the USFL. They haven't even kicked off yet, and a lawsuit is coming their way. The latest from the NFL, NBA, college sports, and we'll see if there's anything new on Major League Baseball. They canceled opening day. They canceled the first two series. We'll get into all of that coming up. Jeremy KOLOK is your Soundscape stylist. I'm Chris. You're listening to The Chris Duel Show. Whoops. Okay, there's that. Sam Smith. Wow, Axel, that goes way back. Yeah. So I think it went Terry Stembridge. There was a guy named Greg Haber. I think it went Terry Stembridge, Greg Haber, Sam Smith, and then Jay Howard, and then Bill Schoening. I believe that was the progression. But, man, Gary DeLon, who just passed away, what was great about him and Terry Stembridge, they were really old school. It was like, and I would have to play you some audio, and I've got some, but they were like poets. They would just set the scene. I was saying steam because remember Terry Stembridge said, on a muggy April night as the steam rises from the San Antonio River and across the river at the hemisphere, he would just paint a picture with words that was spectacular. Look at that. Axel J. Miller saw Prince in 1985 at the Frank Irwin Center doing the Purple Rain Tour. That is tremendous. What a memory that is. Yeah, Gary DeLon was special. And what was so cool, I grew up watching Gary DeLon on TV. He was at Ken's 5. And listening to him do sports, doing some of those Spurs games. And then when I finally met him, and everybody who's met him has the same, he was one of the nicest guys in the world. I mean, when Gary DeLon would talk with you, he genuinely cared about you and what you were saying. And, so often, and this happened to me as a stand-up comic. There were like comics that I grew up just really as a fan of them. And I did stand-up comedy for a number of years and met some of my comedy heroes and got to work with them. And some of them were just not, they weren't very nice, not only to me, but just everybody they dealt with other than when they were on stage, which I always thought was weird. If you're going to get into the entertainment business and you're going to kind of be a jerk off stage or off the air, why? But Gary DeLon, man. Yeah, he was on Ken's Five. He was a reporter and sports anchor. And that's where his crazy jackets, he had these crazy, loud, unusual, colorful jackets that were his signature. So, yeah, that all happened on via Ken's Five. Neil Diamond. There you go, Jason. I love me some Neil Diamond. That would be a great concert to go to. Oh, man, I got to do that. Whoa!
Jake from State Farm here. Some other car insurance companies.
Jake from State Farm.
In your state, but don't worry. If your bill's gone up, switch to State Farm for surprisingly great rates. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Axel, great point. He was Craig Sager before Craig Sager. Robert bringing up Frank Fallon. Very cool. Voice of the Baylor Bears. Let's see. Here we go.
People always told me, be careful what you do. Don't go around breaking young girls' hearts.
Back to the with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney.
The chair is not my son. If you listen closely, here it comes. Let's go. Here it is. Ready? Listen. Here it is. Right now. The chair is not my son. I think he says the chair is
Do
not
you
my son.
seriously think he says chair?
It sounds like
That's
chair.
up to
to
you.
me.
I think you've been
The
in radio
chair
too
is
long.
not my-
Chair.
How could the chair possibly be his son?
I don't hear chair in the slightest.
I heard the chair is not my son. Man, thank you. Hey, maybe I should get the hearing check. Shannon. You know, people don't know this. You know this. And Jeremy may be too young in radio to know this. Most people in radio do have a hearing loss. You guys know that, right? You guys know that, right?
Yeah,
You've learned.
my
Go ahead.
favorite word is
Go ahead.
what. Someone says what? I need you to repeat that. If you don't have my complete and focused attention, I'm gonna miss. Whether it's selective hearing or radio hearing, I don't know, but yes, it's a problem.
And I can't tell you how many times over the years, usually like on a remote or something, you know, you have your headphones on, and then all of a sudden somebody else is operating the controls. Level on your headphones goes sky high. You gotta throw the headphones off, and right there you're damaging your eardrum. So Jeremy, when you got into radio, and they usually don't tell you. Yeah, this would be a great job. Welcome to radio. Oh, by the way, most people in radio ultimately have a hearing loss. So you knew about this.
Well, nobody told me outright, but I mean, pretty much every time I connect to Andy to do a UTSA thing, I mean, he blows my eardrums out about 80% of the time. Just when we're trying to get connected. Yeah, I don't know if it's his fault, but he's like my point of contact whenever it happens. So he's associated with it for me.
When we get Andy on the show tomorrow, Jeremy, we will say, dude, why are you blowing out Jeremy's eardrums? He's a young man. He wants to keep his hearing. Come on. And Andy will say, huh? I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
What'd you say? Andy Everett will join us tomorrow, the voice of UTSA athletics. Also tomorrow, we expect we'll reach out. He usually joins us at 8:05 on Thursdays. James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So tomorrow, 8 o'clock hour, 8:05, James Allen, 8:35, Andy Everett. And of course, with Andy, we talk a wide range of sports in addition to UTSA. But as we talked with Carl Schoening yesterday, it's been a big week for UTSA athletics as their baseball team got that 6-5 walk-off 10th inning win over number 2 Stanford. But talking about the NFL, Shannon, and I can't believe we made it to 8:42 without talking Dallas Cowboys, because we should talk Cowboys all the time because they're America's team. But Mike McCarthy, I was going to say something negative about him, but I won't. The head coach of the Dallas Cowboys making an announcement about Dak Prescott that raised a few eyebrows yesterday. What did we learn from good old Mike McCarthy yesterday?
Yeah, Mike McCarthy says Dak Prescott is doing well after having surgery at the beginning of the offseason. Apparently, he had some work done on his shoulder. I guess that's better than saying before the season starts that he needs to undergo surgery. It was a minor cleanup procedure. It was his non-throwing shoulder. But I wasn't expecting that to come out of Mike McCarthy's mouth.
No. Yeah. And it is interesting how, I mean, Dak Prescott and any quarterback of an NFL franchise, but when you're the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, you're such a focus of Cowboys fans everywhere and Cowboys haters everywhere. And it's kind of surprising that Dak Prescott goes under the knife and we don't know about it. So, and especially coming off, this year, as we know, he came off that catastrophic ankle injury and played very, very well. So I'm waiting on Dak Prescott, Shannon. He's got to deliver the goods. Matthew Stafford now has a ring.
Well, how long did that take
Dak
him,
doesn't
though?
yet. Took him a long time, yeah. Right. Well, it took him 1 year with a good team.
Yeah.
All those horrible years in Detroit. But I just, and we talk about it a lot. Your job as quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys is do what Roger did, do what Troy did. Roger did it twice. Troy did it 3 times. Deliver a Super Bowl championship. And if you don't, and your name is Danny White, and it's so great. And Drew Pearson, we've had him on the show. He'll tell you, anybody who knows, Danny White was a very good quarterback, an exceptional quarter. You didn't deliver a Super Bowl. Tony Romo, incredible numbers, a very good quarterback. I love Tony Romo. You did not deliver a Super Bowl. And I know, Shannon, there's 11 dudes on the field, and quarterbacks don't play defense either for those 11 guys on the field or special teams, except for Romo on the field goal attempt at Seattle. Not that I can't let it go, but it's your quarterback of the Cowboys. And in the case of Dak and Tony, we threw more money at you than any other quarterback in NFL history, in Cowboys history, obviously because of inflation and the way quarterbacks get paid. But Jerry threw a ton of money at Tony Romo, and he threw a ton of money at Dak Prescott. And I won a darn Super Bowl. I'm getting a little, and you, Shannon, and you and Jeremy, in your adult life, have not experienced the joy of a Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl championship, and that's unfair.
It really is.
Dak.
More than anything, that's what's most unfair here.
Yeah.
It's my lack of Super Bowl enjoyment for my very own team.
It is the coolest thing in the world. It is such, and it's been forever, but it's such a cool feeling. It's just like, and for Spurs fans, when the Spurs won those titles. And Shannon, how much of a Mavericks fan and how locked into the Mavericks were you when they won their title? I'm trying to think. Your sports teams, Longhorns win the national championship with Vince Young in 2005, and then Mavericks. I forgot what year that was. What was that? 2011. I don't even remember when the Mavericks.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was more locked into them then than I am now, as far as like crazed fan. I mean, I'm locked in from the work perspective, but I think during that time and being in high school and so many kids being about the Spurs growing up in Austin, and the years prior to the Mavs winning that, they had their pretty good chances, right? And so I was yearning for that, and I was pretty locked in for that one. That was big. I did the academy thing after that game, but it turns out in Austin, Texas, when the Mavericks win a championship that night, academy does not have swag yet. You got to wait a couple days. So I did.
Wow. And that is the good thing about the Spurs. When they win, you just go right over to Academy and you're taken care of. Now, Jeremy, Oklahoma State guy, Stillwater closer to Dallas than San Antonio. Did you have a Dallas Mavericks affinity in 2011?
No.
Good answer. I'm just saying.
Don't be so disgusted.
And I tell the
Jeremy.
story. Speaking of Academy,
Nah, no comment.
I tell the story a lot. And I know you've heard it 20 times, Shannon. But when Ray Allen hits that 3-point shot, I'm doing radio. I'm doing Spurs radio, and the salesperson for Academy and the boss at the time, Peter Bolger, walk in and they hand me the copy. They say, all right, once the game's over and the Spurs win, you're supposed to read this copy. Spurs t-shirts and hats and merchandise will go on sale at Academy at midnight tonight. After the game, you start lining up at every San Antonio area Academy store. I got it in my hand, ready to read it. And then Ray Allen, ching, hits that 3-point shot. Game 6 of the NBA Finals. We go to overtime. Spurs lose. You know the rest. Academy had to do something else with all that merch. One more football note. Shannon, you and I believe and know, and it's true, more football is good football. How dare somebody sue the USFL before they even kick off in about 45 days? What's going on with a USFL lawsuit?
Yeah, so the USFL is in a way coming back because it was an organization that existed before, and so former owners and executives are now suing the new version of the league for using the same acronym and using the same logo. Of course, they're using that because they want people to be like, oh, I remember this and I enjoyed it. Let me get back into it. I don't know. It very much feels like a money grab, in that we've known that this league was coming and that their start date has been in April. And why are we doing this right now? And because I think even for those former owners, like, I think they just want a piece of the cut, like whatever it's going to be. If the league does succeed, then they want to like have some of the benefit of that. Or if they think it's probably going to end up dying in a couple months, we want our money on the front end by saying you can't just use our stuff.
Yeah. It is kind of interesting, though. I mean, I see it both ways. I love that the USFL has like the same logo, the Houston Gamblers, the New Jersey Generals and all that. But I also see the arguments like, hey, man, that was our team. We spent all this money. We created the logo and the look. And now you guys are making all this money. You know, we want a little something, something. So I do kind of see it both ways, but I don't. Yeah, but, you know, as we know, springtime football has such a hard time. Yeah, true. It's like an old relationship. Get over it. It's been 30 years. but the thing that worries me, having seen all these leagues go under, Alliance, XFL, USFL, I mean, lawsuits are not good. They need every advantage they can get to succeed. I want to see spring football last in America. So that troubles me a little bit.
Yeah. And part of the reason why so many have gone under is because they just run out of money. So you certainly don't want to be spending money on something like this.
All right, Shannon, 21 hours from now, we'll do this again. As I mentioned, we expect to have James Allen from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Andy Everett, we will chastise him for damaging Jeremy KOLOK's hearing. Maybe we'll have some baseball news, maybe some movement there, and we'll get ready for Bill Schoening's 2,000 consecutive broadcast. What are your plans for today?
I have to pick my dad up from the airport, and he is landing at 5:45, so I'll probably be sitting in traffic most of the day to and from said airport. Can't wait.
That's what you
exciting stuff.
For taking
Glad
his
you
car
asked.
the other day
Yeah.
from the airport. Jeremy, great job. We will stand up to Andy Everett for you tomorrow.
Yeah, it's not necessary.
I will wag my finger at Andy Everett.
I'll be here. So
coming up. All right. Yeah. We'll do this again. Have yourself a great Wednesday, Ash Wednesday, Texas Independence Day. Our thanks to the great Bill Schoening for joining us. Baseball, get it together. Come on. Enjoy yourself on this Wednesday. We will see you later. Adios, amigos. Woo. All right, y'all. Adios.